I was sitting in that uncomfortable hospital chair, looking at my mother connected to tubes and machines, when she squeezed my hand with a strength I didn't know she still had. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she whispered something that froze my blood. "Honey, I need to tell you the truth about Rafael before it's too late." Rafael, my older brother, the perfect son, the pride of the family. I had no idea that in the next few minutes, everything I believed about my family would crumble like a house of cards. My name is Fernanda. I'm 32 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered my family's biggest secret and how I had to decide whether or not to tell my brother the truth that could destroy everything. Let me go back a bit so you can understand. My family was always, let's say, traditional. My father, Antonio, was a civil engineer, serious man of few words. My mother, Celia, a retired teacher, was always the heart of the home. And Rafael, 3 years older than me, was the son they always wanted. Tall, handsome, intelligent, law degree, married to Patricia for 5 years, with 2 beautiful children. Me? Well, I was the youngest, the daughter who gave them trouble. Divorced, no kids, working as a freelance graphic designer. You know that feeling that you're never good enough? That was me and my family. Throughout my entire life, I thought there was something different. My mother always treated Rafael with special care, extra attention. My father, too. I thought it was because he was the firstborn, the man of the house, that sexist culture that still exists in many Brazilian families. But it wasn't that. It was on a Wednesday in March that everything started to fall apart. My mother collapsed in the middle of the night. Rafael called me desperate at 3 a.m. saying she had fainted and the ambulance was taking her to the hospital. Heart attack, the doctor said. Severe. We spent 3 days in surgeries, ICU, that despair of thinking you're going to lose the person. My father had died 2 years earlier from cancer. The idea of losing my mother, too, was unbearable. Rafael and I took turns at the hospital. Him in the morning, me in the afternoon and night. It was on the 5th night, when Rafael had gone home to shower and see his kids, that it happened. My mother woke up. She was still weak, but conscious. She looked at me with those tired eyes and said, "Fernanda, come here, my daughter." I approached. She held my hand and started crying. "I need to tell you something I've carried for 35 years. Something your father made me promise I would never tell." My heart raced. "Mom, you need to rest. We can talk when you're better." "No, Fernanda. I almost died. If I have another heart attack and don't survive, you need to know the truth. But you'll have to decide what to do with it." She took a deep breath, and what came out of her mouth left me breathless. "Rafael is not my biological son. He's adopted, and he never knew." I was completely paralyzed. My mind simply froze. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Adopted? Rafael? The perfect son? What was she saying? "Mom, what? What do you mean?" She started to tell me, slowly, between tears and pauses to breathe. My mother and father got married in 1985. She was 25, he was 26. They tried to have children for 3 years. Nothing. They did tests. They discovered that my father had a problem that made it almost impossible for him to have children naturally. At the time, fertility treatments were extremely expensive and barely accessible in Brazil. They were devastated, my father especially. went into depression. The idea of not being able to have a son, of not being able to pass on the family name, destroyed him inside. That's when an acquaintance of my mother's, who worked at a maternity hospital in Sao Paulo, called with a proposal. A 15-year-old teenager had given birth to a boy. Alone, no family, no resources. She wanted to give the child up for adoption, but didn't want to go through the official process. She was afraid. Ashamed? I don't know. My mother's acquaintance asked if they wanted to take the baby. Informal adoption. No paperwork, no bureaucracy. It was illegal. My mother knew it. My father knew it. But they were desperate. And the possibility of having a child, even if not biological, was everything they wanted. They took the baby. Rafael was 3 days old. My mother faked a pregnancy for months. She put on a fake belly, stopped going to certain places, traveled to visit an aunt in Sao Paulo when it was close to the due date. When they returned, they brought Rafael. Everyone believed it, even their own family. And the birth certificate? I asked, still in shock. Your father had a friend who worked at the registry office. He managed to register Rafael as our biological son. Everything was arranged. I couldn't process it. My brother, whom I'd known for 32 years, wasn't my blood brother. Well, he was my brother, just not biologically. But he didn't know. And now I knew. And I had to decide what to do with it. Mom, why didn't you ever tell him? She closed her eyes. At first, we were afraid of losing him. Afraid someone would find out, that the biological mother would change her mind, that justice would take us from us. Later, your father became obsessed with the idea that no one could know. He said Rafael was our son, that there was no difference, that telling would only hurt everyone. And when I was born, Fernanda, she smiled weakly. You were our miracle. 4 years after we took Rafael, I discovered I was pregnant naturally. The doctors couldn't explain it. Sometimes it happens, they said. Your father was so happy. But at the same time, he became even more paranoid about the secret. He was afraid if someone found out, people would think Rafael was less important, less of a son, you know? I understood. I understood the overprotection, the extra care, the different attention. They weren't favoring Rafael because of sexism. They were compensating for guilt. They were trying to prove to themselves that they loved both children equally, even though one wasn't blood. Mom, you need to tell him. I can't, Fernanda. Your father made me swear. On his deathbed, he made me swear this secret would die with us. But, Mom, he has a right to know. Imagine if he finds out some other way. Imagine the damage that could do. I know, my daughter. That's why I'm telling you. If I die, you decide. You're the only person in the world who knows now. You're the one who will have to carry this weight. And she closed her eyes, exhausted. I left the room dizzy. I sat in the hospital corridor and stayed there paralyzed, trying to understand what I had just heard. My brother wasn't my brother. Well, he was my brother, just not biologically, but he didn't know. And now I knew, and I had to decide what to do with it. Rafael arrived an hour later, smiling with coffee and cheese bread he brought from home. Hey, sis, how is she? I looked at him, that 35-year-old man, family man, successful lawyer, who had always been my older brother, my protector when I was a child. How was I going to look at him now knowing he had no idea who he really was? She's better. She woke up. We talked a bit. That's good, thank God. I don't know what I'd do without Mom, you know? And it was right then that I started to feel the weight of the decision. Tell or not tell. respect my father's last wish, or give my brother the right to know his own story. The following days were an internal hell for me. My mother improved, was discharged, went home. Rafael was relieved, returned to his routine. And me? I was left with that secret burning inside me like hot iron. I started researching. Brazilian adoption, as they call it. I discovered it's a crime, that it can result in 2 to 6 years in prison, that my mother and father, technically, committed a federal crime. But I also discovered it was common in the 80s and 90s when the legal adoption process was extremely bureaucratic and time-consuming. More importantly, I discovered that people who find out late in life that they're adopted
go through enormous psychological trauma, identity crisis, feeling of betrayal, depression. Did I have a right to do that to Rafael? I spent weeks avoiding him, making up excuses not to go to Sunday lunches, not to answer calls, until he showed up at my house worried. "Faye, what's going on? You've been strange since Mom left the hospital. Did something happen that I don't know about?" I looked at him, at those eyes I'd known forever, but that now seemed to belong to a stranger. "No, Rafa, I'm just tired. Work. You know how it is." "I know you, sis. There's something. You can trust me." Trust. How ironic. That's when I had an idea. What if I found out more about the story? What if I found Rafael's biological mother? Maybe that would help me decide. I knew my mother had kept some old papers in a box in the attic. Documents, old photos. I waited for a day she went out for physical therapy. I went up to the attic. I searched, and I found it. A brown folder hidden at the bottom of a shoebox. Inside was a faded photo of a very young girl holding a baby. On the back, written in pencil, Maria Helena, 15 years old. Rafael, 3 days. There was also a paper with an address in Sao Paulo, East Zone, and an old phone number. My heart raced. That was my brother's biological mother. Was she still alive? Did she regret it? Did she spend 35 years thinking about the son she gave away? I did something I know was wrong, but I needed to know. I hired a private detective. I gave him the name, the photo, the old address. 3 weeks later, he called me. I found her. Maria Helena lived in Guarulhos. She was 51 years old now. Married, 2 adult children. Worked as a cook in a school. Simple life, but stable. The detective asked if I wanted the address. I said yes, but when it was time to go there, I froze. What was I gonna do? Knock on her door and say, "Hi, you gave away a baby 35 years ago and I'm her sister?" I spent days with that address written in my phone until one Saturday morning, without thinking too much, I got in the car and went. The house was simple, a small 2-story house on a quiet street. I rang the doorbell with my heart in my mouth. A woman answered. Black hair with white strands, tired brown eyes, apron dirty with flour. "Yes? Maria Helena?" "Yes, that's me. Who are you?" I took a deep breath. "My name is Fernanda. I need to talk to you about something that happened 35 years ago. About a baby." Her face changed completely. It went white. Her hands started shaking. "Come in." We sat in the small living room. She served water. She kept looking at me, waiting. I told her everything. Who I was, who Rafael was, how my parents took him, that he didn't know anything. She started crying. It wasn't pretty soap opera crying. It was ugly, desperate crying of decades of guilt and pain. "I was 15 years old," she said between sobs. "My stepfather, he got me pregnant. By him.
My mother kicked me out of the house, said I was a slut, that I had seduced him. I had nowhere to go. A social worker helped me, put me in a shelter. When the baby was born, I had no means. I was a child. My God, Rafael was the result of abuse. His biological mother had been raped by her own stepfather. The woman from the hospital asked me if I wanted to give him up for adoption. I said yes, but she said there was a couple who really wanted a child, that they would take good care of him, that he would have everything I couldn't give him. I signed a paper. I don't even know what it was. And I gave away my son. And did you never try to look for him? Every single day for years, but I had no name, address, nothing. And I was afraid to ruin his life, afraid he would hate me. So I got married, had other children, and tried to move on. But not a day goes by that I don't think about him. Not a day that I wonder if he's okay, if he's happy, if he has a good life. I showed her a photo of Rafael on my phone, him with his wife and children. She held the phone with both hands, looking, crying. He's beautiful. He looks happy. He is. He has a good life, but he doesn't know anything about this. And you came here to what? I don't know. I think I needed to understand. I needed to know if you regretted it, if you wanted to meet him. She was silent for a long time. Then she said something that changed everything for me. I want him to be happy. If telling the truth will make him happy, then tell him. If it will destroy him, then leave him in peace. The decision isn't mine. It's not yours. It's his. He's an adult. He has the right to decide whether or not he wants to know the truth. She was right, completely right. I went home with a clearer mind. I scheduled lunch with Rafael, just the two of us, at a calm, discreet restaurant. Rafael, I need to tell you something, and it's something very serious. He stopped eating, looked at me concerned. Are you sick? No, it's not me. It's about you. It's about our family. And I told him everything. The conversation in the hospital, the adoption, the biological mother, the abuse story, everything. He kept looking at me like I was speaking another language. Then he started laughing, a nervous, disbelieving laugh. You're kidding, right? This is some kind of prank. No, Rafi, I wish it was, but it's not. The laughter stopped. His face collapsed. He sat there, processing. Then he got up, left the restaurant without saying anything. I ran after him. Rafael! He was in the parking lot, leaning on the car, crying. I had never seen my brother cry like that. I'm not who I thought I was. Everything was a lie. Everything. No, Rafa. You're exactly who you've always been. You're my brother. Your mom and dad's son. This doesn't change that. Yes, it does. My father wasn't my father. My entire life was based on a lie. He got in the car and drove away. I stood there in the parking lot, thinking I had just destroyed my family. Worried. Rafael didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. Didn't talk to my mother either. Patricia, his wife, called me desperate, asking what had happened. I couldn't tell her. It was his to tell. Until one night he showed up at my house, red eyes, unshaven. I went to the registry office. I got my birth certificate. It's fake, isn't it? Technically, yes, but you were registered as their son. Legally, you are. I talked to a lawyer who specializes in adoption. He said I can sue, that what they did was a crime. My heart froze, terrified. Rafa, you're not going to. Relax. I won't. I won't do that to Dad's memory. I won't do that to Mom, but I want to meet her. Who? Maria Helena, my biological mother. I organized the meeting at a neutral cafe. I went along to give support. When Rafael saw Maria Helena, they stood still, looking at each other. She was nervous, shaking. He was tense, but curious. They sat down. They talked. She told her story. He listened. At the end, she apologized. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for abandoning you. I'm sorry for everything." Rafael took a deep breath. "You didn't abandon me. You gave me a chance, a family that loved me, a good life. You did the best you could in an impossible situation." And they cried together. Today, 3 months later, Rafael is in therapy, processing everything. He still talks to my mother, but the relationship is different, more honest but more distant. He visits Maria Helena once a month. He met his half-siblings. He's building a new, careful relationship. As for me, I learned that secrets always come out. That the truth, no matter how painful, is better than the lie. That family isn't just blood, it's love. It's choice. But I also learned that revealing the truth has consequences. And sometimes those consequences hurt a lot. I still don't know if I did the right thing. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night wondering if I should have taken this secret to the grave like my father wanted. If I should have let Rafael live in blissful ignorance. But when I see him talking to Maria Helena, when I see him finally understanding parts of himself that never made sense, when I see him reconnecting with a part of his identity that was stolen, I think, yes, I think I did the right thing. The truth hurts, but lies corrode. And in the end, everyone has the right to know their own story, even if that story is painful, even if it changes everything. Because only by knowing where we come from can we decide where we want to go.